let's just sew whatever.
Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be cutting out the Mercury backpack, the large size from Kaur threads. This is a doozy. It's a lot of pieces. It's a really long cut chart, but it's very few pattern pieces if you're printing it out as instructed in the pattern description. So it's like a 96-page pattern, which is kind of a lot, but again, just small bites at a time, and you can do it. A few months ago, this would have been really mentally overwhelming for me just because of doing so much. So I'm really excited to just kind of take it slow, read through the pattern, look at all the pieces. I used a vinyl, a cotton woven, Sew Fuse Plus, and Sew Fuse, as well as a foam to interface the bag. Yeah, it's just kind of a relaxing video of cutting and interfacing. It didn't cut much out, so it's gonna be long and boring, so keep that in mind. If you're not already subscribed, I would love if you would do so. And leave a comment down below and let me know if you like this type of video, if you don't like this type of video. I've been kind of switching it up and adding a time lapse into a video about the bag and just doing a really quick synopsis of cutting it, but a lot of people have said that they like the long how to cut out a bag videos, so figured we would do that too. Let's go ahead and get started on cutting out the Mercury backpack. This is the large size. The mini backpack I cut out the other night took about an hour and a half or so, I would say, like at most. So we're gonna go ahead and cut out the paper pieces first. Make sure that your 1-inch test square is correct. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the padded strap pieces. I'm not gonna cut out the zipper overlay. I'm just gonna kind of freehand that. But it does have measurements given for that piece. If I know I'm gonna make a pattern multiple times, I like to print out the pieces on cardstock. Just like 100-pound cardstock is good. The pattern does include instructions on how to only print out the pattern pieces that aren't squares, so I highly recommend doing that if you are confident in your cutting skills as far as like a rotary cutter goes and ruler, because that's going to be a huge paper saver. I am using a cotton woven fabric and a vinyl for my exterior. I'm trying to think of what else. I will be interfacing this with Sew Fuse and Sew Fuse Plus. Can definitely use the Decaville Light as recommended, but I just thought Decaville Light is so expensive that it might be kind of nice to just do the Sew Fuse Plus. I am listening to music so that it isn't so quiet. I find it really hard to work in the very, very quiet, you know? Just me talking to myself. You'll notice that I'm kind of angling these pieces. I'm not fully cutting everything off where they'll be overlapped. I find this helps me just kind of stabilize the pattern piece a little bit better. Something I've been doing for a very long time. It's always confusing too because some pattern designers will include that little bit of overlap piece, some won't. everybody just has a different method of doing things, so keep that in mind. And like this piece here is overlapped quite a bit. So I'll just tape it together and trim off that excess. You can also use glue if need be. And the way to line it up is to make sure that the boxes are touching just right. And then I'll just cut off this little excess piece along the back. Because I am using vinyl for my side pockets, I'm not going to need to worry about the interfacing being cut a different way. So that's good. Just cutting this down, put it in the pile. And then these strap pieces are really awesome because you can use them in any pattern. So keep that in mind. Once you've made these kinds of like padded straps, you can kind of mix and match, throw them on your favorite bag, that kind of thing. This pattern for the large size calls for ladder locks. I just want to say I do carry this item. We called them locking sliders. I guess I never knew the official term, but this is what they look like. And there's like grip here that will hold on to your webbing to kind of lock it into place. So I will be showing you how to use those. All right, so there are my paper pieces cut and taped. I have always used packing tape to hold my pieces together. I had it on hand, so that's what I used. There is a cutting list included for this bag, and I would highly, highly recommend printing that out and either laminating it or just using the packing tape along the cut list. And this is so you can use a dry erase marker and just mark it off as you go so that you know what you have and haven't done. What's amazing is she's laid it out as exterior fabric, lining fabric, and then your stabilizers, and then your zippers. So it's really easy to just kind of follow along, go slow, because I would say something like this can be really overwhelming, especially if you're new to bag making, etc. I know not long ago I would have been like, I can't do this, it's too many pieces, it's too many squares, I'm not interested. So I'm gonna turn on my heat press while I start cutting everything out. I guess I could move my table back. I don't know why it's so far away. I really like to grab a few rulers that are gonna be super helpful. And a lot of these pieces are about 13 inches by varying widths. So you want something that can measure up to 13 inches. So this is my 16.5 by 16.5 Creative Grids ruler. This is pretty much the only one I have that will fit that bill. But there are some smaller pieces that I will reach for a 4 by 14 ruler. Again, it's a little bit easier to manage, so that's why I like to reach for it. And I'm just gonna go top to bottom following the list. I'm gonna use, I think this is probably like a 1/2 yard of cotton woven, and this print isn't directional, so that's really gonna work in my favor. So exterior, front, top panel. And this is going to be a fairly boring video, so I apologize for that. And it does say the width and the height. So I'm going to cut this to just a little bit over what the pattern calls for, and then I'll trim it down so that I know that I'm getting a nice straight piece. I will not be sharing the measurements, at least on purpose, for this pattern because you will need to purchase the pattern to know those measurements. I get a lot of comments like that, and I'm like, wait, what? Why would I be sharing the measurements? And so I just take my Expo marker and mark off as I'm cutting out. The zipper flap I'm gonna cut out of my vinyl. The front bottom pocket, I think I want out of my vinyl. The back panel, I will cut out of the fabric here. My cutting table is on wheels and it's not locked, so if it's sliding around, that's why. Oh, dang. The back panel is 13 by, no, I said I wasn't sharing measurements. It's a little bit bigger than my ruler is capable of. So what I'm gonna do is make sure that my fabric is lined up to a square on my cutting mat so that I can add that little bit extra. Perfect. Wow. This is gonna be a big bag. I'm really excited. And so I'm just creating a little stack on my heat press because I'll want to press my pieces as well. So now I've got my strap, my handles, top handle, there's a piece to cut out of woven as like a little accent. So I've got this extra piece over here. I'm gonna cut this to the right width and then I'll get my piece out of that. So I'm gonna get a nice straight edge going. Yep. Then I'll get my width. Ooh, that's gonna be really pretty. So there is one of those pieces, and I will need to interface that, so I'll just lay that on my cutting table. Those two pieces. Make sure you close your rotary cutter. Top handle, strap. And then the bottom handle strap I'm going to cut out of vinyl. Short connector, long connector, that's all webbing, 1 inch wide. I think I have a perfect match. Yeah, I think that looks, well, I think I'll use black. That's safer. And this is from Indo Kreation. So I need 2 pieces. Well, I need like 4 pieces of this. Probably cut these out of, oh. I don't think I'll ever know what a perfectly clean cutting table looks like anymore. There's always stuff sitting everywhere. Can you relate? Okay, so I've got 2 of each of those pieces. That is my short connector and my long connector. And then I've got adjustable side strips that I also need. And there's an option for woven or nylon. So I'll go ahead and do the nylon just to keep it consistent. Oh, I have no scissors. Got those 2. And I think that's all I'm gonna need of the nylon webbing, so I can put this away. And I can get back to cutting out the rest of this. So zipper flap vinyl, front bottom pocket vinyl, zipper tab I'm not gonna worry about. I have hardware for that. So I need my connector triangle. These are 6. So the size of these pieces would be easier to cut with my smaller ruler. So that's what I'm gonna do. And I need 2 total of these pieces. So I'm just gonna multiply the width. And then I'll cut that in half. And then those, of course, will need interfacing. Okay, the strap strip I'm gonna cut out of vinyl. The side panels I will cut out of this fabric. And again, I'm gonna do that same sort of thing where I'm cutting out both at the same time, and then I'll cut that in half. So this is the side panel. And this is pretty much going to be the last of the fabric I'm using. This is not the right way to cut, but it's a very short little piece, so it's fine. So now I can make sure this is nice and straight. Width by height. Looks good. And then these will be interfaced as well. And again, just going really slow and like highlighting everything as you're cutting makes it so much easier. So now I'm gonna move on to cutting out my vinyl pieces. Because this isn't like a regular backpack where I need a ton of, oh, I still need the trolley sleeve, but I think I can do that out of vinyl. I think that'll look nice. Plus I have like none of this fabric left. So we'll set that aside for now. So again, you want to make sure that you can get your straps out of this first. Luckily, I'm doing the padded straps and a lot of it is going to be the webbing, so I don't think we'll run into any issues with that. So I can just start working my way down the list. I'm trying really hard not to say the measurements out loud. But like I forget, and I'm afraid if I have it here, well, okay, that's better. It's like you guys might be able to see it. If you are worried about how much vinyl you have and you don't want to run out, I would definitely recommend marking everything out on the back side of your vinyl first. And that will definitely help you conserve before you dig in, especially if it's something you don't have a lot of or you can't get again. Okay. Did I cut that right? And then on the vinyl, I'm gonna label, there's pattern piece letters, but you could also just put, like this is the front bottom pocket, FB pocket. And this will probably need interfacing, but I don't wanna keep my vinyl near the heat press at the moment, so I'm just gonna set it in my bin for later. All right, make sure we mark it off. Don't look at my list. Don't look at that. Not for your eyes. Darn. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get, aha, wonderful. I just really like to make sure I can use as much of the vinyl economically as possible. No. So I'm using my pattern weights to help me hold this piece in place. If you're feeling really confident, you can just trace around your paper. I am moderately confident. Don't be too confident, because then your rotary cutter will sense it and it will get you. It will attack. Bye forever. So there's one side pocket, and again, that's not going to need any interfacing out of this nice vinyl. The vinyl is from my website. It's going to be available in December, I think. And it's a really, really delicious microfiber backed vinyl. So it does have, like, the microfiber is clingy, but it just feels so nice. I can't get enough. I just can't get enough. So I'm not adding any interfacing, especially since I'm using waterproof canvas to line the bag, so I can just clip that pattern piece out of the way. Don't need to look at it again. But I do need to mark that I have cut out my two side pockets. And then I've got the base. stabilizing. Oh, strap. Why do I need two of those? Oh my gosh, how perfect is that? This is the zipper flap. And I'm really excited about the zipper flap on this. I think it's really classy looking. The whole pattern is really classy looking. And there is a stabilizer piece for the zipper flap. I feel like my vinyl is thick enough that I don't want to add that, but I'll still cut it out and we'll see if we want to put it in or not. So this is now the strap strip. Okay, yeah, I do need two of these. That makes sense because there's a strap on the front and a strap on the back. It might be different for the mini backpack. I have my mini backpack cut out. I haven't sewn it yet. I hope to sew it up tonight. I plan to have a video for both sizes. So I'll label this strip. And I've got the perfect space for the next one here. Ugh, it's like 1/4 of an inch too short. That's okay. It should work out okay. And then I'll go ahead and clip these together. These are the little OklaRoots clip. Super cute, so tiny. Okay, we got 2 of those. Slip pocket trim. It's a fun little piece. And that is the whole size of this ruler, so may as well use that. I skipped over where it said zipper tab up at the top. I thought that was for another kind of piece, but I do need that for the front pocket, I believe. So I'll cut that out of my little scraps here. And we don't need any interfacing for those, otherwise they could be too thick, especially once you fold them, fold them, fold them. So I'm just gonna set those in the bin, cross that off. So I need the padded straps, trolley sleeve, and zipper overlay. This looks like the perfect place for the overlay. So I'm gonna cut that just a little bit bigger than I need it to be so that I can trim it down. If you are new to cutting with a rotary cutter and ruler, make sure that you're keeping an eye on which end your measurements are on. Like this is 14 to 9, that wouldn't give me the right measurement, but this is 1 to 9 or whatever you need, that will give you the right measurement. I only say that because I have done that way too many times. But I'm just gonna use an existing little overlay to trace out my corners. If you have a cutting machine, you could also use that to cut it out. What I'm gonna do is fold it in half and clip it together on both sides. And just very slowly and carefully cut through both sides. It's not gonna give you a super accurate cut, but you can clean it up if need be. Voila. And then if you need to, you can still use pattern piece to mark everything out, like as far as the corners on your box, etc. Definitely recommend checking your pattern piece first. Mine was off, but that's fine. Because a lot of this is being cut out based on the measurements, no biggie. My pockets aren't going to be quite as big on the side. Again, it will be fine. So I'm just going really careful along the long side of this box. And then I'm gonna cut the sides. So there is my overlay. I just measured 1 inch from each side to find the center, and then I measured 1 inch from each outer edge. And then I measured 1/4 of an inch to create the inside box. So I guess technically you could measure 3/4 of an inch, 3/4 of an inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, and then what remains inside is your overlay. This won't need any extra, so I'm gonna lay that there. And this little inside piece you could use as a zipper pull or create like a little tassel with if you wanted. I won't be. Saying you could. Okay. Zipper overlay. So I'm going to I'm going to cut out the sleeve. I am a little worried about my padded straps being a little bit smaller since my pattern piece is printed small. I would recommend printing from a computer instead of an iPad or phone. That way you can select print at 100%, etc. I did not do that. So that's why mine is a little bit off. All right, what am I doing here? Well, that was dumb. No, I can still get my padded strap pieces out of there. It's probably more recommended that you cut your padded strap out of not a vinyl, especially if you have a domestic machine, but these straps are gonna feel so incredible out of this vinyl, so I'm doing it. I'm doing it. There are actually sizes given on this pattern piece, so I'm gonna cut according to those, and then I will just round off the bottom based on this. Same with my foam stabilizer. And if you want them like extra cushy, you could add 2 layers of foam, but it's definitely gonna add some thickness. So I'm gonna grab a different ruler because neither of these are long enough. So I'm gonna make sure I hang them up as I'm done using them. It's kind of like cooking the mise en place rule. Mise en place? I don't know. All right. I should have enough to do these. Ugh. Because I cut that 1-inch square, I don't have enough, but it's off by 1/2 inch. Like, that's nothing. So I'm gonna cut there. This one's a little small too. Dang. That's fine. I have more vinyl. It will be fine. But again, that's why you should carefully lay it all out before you start cutting. Another thing I could do is I could use vinyl on one side and a cotton fabric on the other. Might get to do that. We'll see. I won't have enough there, and that's it. I hate to cut into more vinyl, but I also don't have enough of this fabric from this piece. It's got to be the vinyl. I have decided. So I'll just get another roll out. Roll out. Okay, so these are all of my extra pieces here. I had 3 of these cut. What did I do with it? Did I not have 3 of these cut? Oh. Under my ruler. Hello. She's new here, don't worry about it. To this earth. Okay. Okay, I do have another roll of this, so I'm not super worried about cutting into it this way, because I was just thinking, like, if I want to make a crossbody strap for another bag, it's going to be 3.5 inches shorter than I'd want it to be if I do this, but we'll be fine. I'm doing my best to line it up and then just trim off that little excess. And there are my padded straps. I'll go ahead and trim it down based on the shape. Yeah, so they wouldn't have been too much smaller, but definitely would have been smaller. So I'm tracing the pattern piece on the back. And then I'm gonna put 2 of them together. And cut through them both at the same time. You could also leave one on each side the regular size because you're gonna trim down excess anyway, but so soft. Okay, I'm gonna trim off that inch so they're the same size. And these will get sewn right sides together. Keep that in mind. There's all those pieces. If you need to, you can keep the strap connected to your pattern pieces, or your fabric pieces, I should say, if you know you're not gonna remember what's what. So I'm gonna grab my foam really quick. That is, well, I guess that's technically in the stabilizer piece, so we'll wait. That's fine. So I've got my padded strap, my trolley sleeve piece. So now we're ready to move on to the interfacing portion. Pretty much all of the exterior fabrics except for the adjustable side strap and the trolley sleeve get fully interfaced. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab my interfacing. I am using just a regular woven interfacing. This might be So Fuse. It might not be. It's just whatever's on my shelf. But it's just a nice lightweight cotton interfacing. And you might decide that you want to cut your pieces out of your interfacing first. It's totally up to you. There's all different ways to do it. I am just going to start by lining up my fabrics in little sections over the interfacing in a way that makes sense for using the interfacing especially. If you're using the selvage of your interfacing, just be careful of where you're putting it, because sometimes the selvage doesn't fuse as well. I mean, it's not really meant to, so you can't get mad if it doesn't. Okay, so I'll just leave these together. Make sure they don't overlap. Make sure your pieces are ironed well enough to start. And I'm gonna press that for about 22 seconds and work on lining up the next piece. Yes. This is my back panel. If you can, let your piece cool before you pick it up so that the glue has a chance to set. Make sure there's no large pieces of fabric stuck in between the layers or anything like that. Press that. And there is such a thing as interfacing for too long as well, so don't overdo it. You can kind of burn your interfacing and then it won't stick as well. It's not a good time. It's not a good look. Make sure there's nothing under your fabric as you're using your rotary cutter. These little pieces here are great for using up scrap interfacing as well as these longer strips. So I'm gonna get this one go in, and then I'm gonna look through my scrap bin and see what I can use up. Especially since with these triangle connectors, you trim off some of it. Where is my scrap? I don't keep a lot of scrap. Ah, that's perfect. Truly don't remember what this piece is for anymore. Y'all ever do that? For this little of a piece, I don't mind using up the selvage. Oh, this is my strap piece. That's right. I'm sure all of you are like, Lauren, this is what it is. Well, I forgot. So yeah, that definitely doesn't matter then. So now I will trim these down. I'm going to trim this over the trash can. I don't want those fuzzies on my table. Ooh. Nice and toasty. Okay, strap. Oh, I didn't cut out the bottom part of my strap. Doing great. I don't think I have a piece big enough in here. Maybe. This definitely isn't. Put that in my scrap. And this is why I do the expo markers, so that I know what I do and don't have. Okay, so those are my straps. And I use the hair clips to keep pieces together. Okay. Bottom handle strap. Got it. Got it. All right, I'm gonna move on to stabilizers because I don't need my heat press on for when I cut out my lining. So for everything that says Decaville Light, I'm gonna be using SoFuse Plus. I'm going to make sure I move all of my pattern pieces out of the way. Because I would be extremely sad to cut through my fabric. Okay. So I can cut out the first few using my 9.5 by 24 inch ruler, but then I'm gonna need the larger one for a few of the other pieces. And again, I'm gonna cut these bigger so that I can trim them down. There we go. Okay. So this is for my front top lining, which is this piece, and it pretty much gets centered along the front top. If it doesn't seem centered, then your piece probably isn't cut correctly. So yeah, looks good. And the SoFuse Plus doesn't give quite the shape that Decaville Light does. I would say Decaville Light is like an A++ interfacing. And SoFuse Plus in comparison is like a B-. I love SoFuse Plus, but it's not as incredible as Decaville Light, in my opinion. But it's so much cheaper. And it's one of those, like, is it that much different? It is, but in the final product, I don't think it will make that big of a difference as far as the price that you'd have to charge versus one or the other. I don't know. Let me know down below what your thoughts are if you've used either interfacing. It sounded like I was like digging at SoFuse Plus, but I think we all know I was not. At least I didn't mean to sound like it if I was. The front bottom lining, no, front bottom stabilizer gets attached a little bit differently. That piece gets placed lower on that front piece. Okay, so here is my front pocket bottom. And if it's the same as the mini backpack, you're gonna have an inch across the top and then centered all the way around the sides. So my SoFuse Plus is now cooled enough that I can move it off my heat press. And the SoFuse Plus with the vinyl, I don't want to press more than 10 seconds at a time at least. I should say at most. It usually doesn't take that long to fuse, but don't press it for longer than that if you can help it. Look at that combo. I love it. Okay. And then if I can, I'm trying to keep pieces that kind of go together. So there's my front flap, my zipper tabs. This is the front of my bag. So I'm gonna keep it clipped, kind of move along. Marking off as I go. Okay, so this is my front, my zipper flap stabilizer. This definitely could have been cut out of like a little scrap piece, but oh well. And I'm not gonna fuse this, I'm just gonna clip it with that other piece. All right, so before I get rid of this ruler, I'm gonna cut out my side stabilizer. Sorry. I don't think this is SoFuse that I used as far as a woven interfacing. It feels very thin. But I can't keep them straight sometimes. I'm a professional. Side panels. What's awesome is the way this bag is cut out is very domestic friendly. It's keeping in mind the thicknesses of your seam allowances and capabilities of machines. I think it's really smartly done. Sorry, listen to music. Trim off the excess interfacing. That'll help with seam allowances. Okay, so the back stabilizer also gets cut out of foam. If using sew-in foam, cut one lightweight, one woven. So this ruler is too big and also too small. So we'll move on to the next piece. Gonna trim this to the size I need it to be. There we go. And I've got all of my selvage interfacing down at the bottom of this piece. So I got my Decaville light, and then I still need my foam. So the rest that I need is foam and then Decaville heavy. Let that cool off. Such a big piece needs time to cool off. So I can put this away. This is a 10-yard roll. So it says 1 ultra firm stabilizer and 1 foam. Okay, good. Yeah, that makes sense. I think I could have used my smaller ruler for this, but that's okay. I would remember the measurements so much better if I could say them out loud. But if I did say them out loud, I'd have to edit them out, and I don't want to take the time to edit more than I have to. Okay, and then I just have that little bit to trim off. So this is going to get interfaced to the bottom panel. Nicely centered. And if you want, you can add a piece of the Sofuse Plus to your lining base as well, so that the base of the inside and the outside are equally matched, as well as that foam. So I like to do a gentle press first and then a full press once I have everything set where I need it for those pieces. All right, done with this. Grabbing my foam. have to do all of the lining pieces, but that's gonna go super quick. What am I doing? They're not meant to cut that way. This can go ahead and get fused to the back side, fairly certain. Because this is cut out of your seam allowances, you do need to figure out a way to attach this. So whether that be laying a piece of woven interfacing that's the full size over top of this to keep it in place, or just fully fusing it. Foam does require a little bit of water to fuse. So what I like to do is put it wrong sides up. So your fabric face down, your foam sticky side down, and then just do a little spritz of water and let that press. Probably about 10 seconds. Again, it depends on your fabric. But keep in mind, wherever the water wasn't may not stick, so it may need another round. But then you also have to keep in mind that if you press it for too long, you risk burning the interfacings that you've already applied. So it's a fine balance. Okay, ultra firm stabilizer. Now I'm doing the base stabilizer foam. And I'm gonna try to look through my foam scraps to see if I have a piece big enough to do the padded strap pieces, because I probably do. Lay that in my pile. Okay, so we are going to be doing the laptop sleeve, and so I'm going to cut that out. Set this aside. All right, so moving on to the stabilizer. These are those curved pieces. You can trace your curve if you need to, but it shouldn't be too big of a deal. So there's this. So we should have a total of 2 of these pieces, and that is it for the interfacing. Yeah, I'm not gonna use it for anything else. This was a scrap piece. Hi, Connor. And now I can move that out of the way. Double check my list. Laptop sleeve, padded strap stabilizer. That is it for stabilizers. Now I can move on to my lining pieces, thank goodness, and I can turn off my heat press because I'm not interfacing any of my lining. I'm gonna repress my foam onto that piece though, and I'm gonna kind of like tidy up. Okay, so one thing I did not do on the front pocket piece was cut out that zippered box. It'll be fine, my machine can handle it, and if possible, I might even be able to peel away that SoFuse Plus once I get the box measured out. Not a problem. So we can move on to our lining pieces. What I'm doing, again, to make it less overwhelming, is covering up what I've already cut using just random pieces of paper, etc., lying here. Just helps keep my mind focused on what I need to be doing. Grabbing my ruler. I know it's silly to like put it away, get it back out so many times, but it really does help keep my mind focused and keeps my cutting area cleaner. All right, so this is my front top lining, or piece N, if you need to refer to it as such. But I know this goes with my front pieces, so I'm just gonna clip it there. And then grab my Expo marker and cross that off. I only need one of those, and now I need two of this other size piece, which is my front bottom lining. So I could cut this to a size that's twice what I need it to be in one direction, and then cut it in half. That is my front bottom lining. So I can, again, clip that together, those pieces. So now there is a back pocket that needs lining. And this is a piece that's 1/2 inch bigger than my ruler. So again, I'll just lay that down on my cutting mat. You could, of course, get a bigger ruler, but just lay that down. that's gonna go on my back panel. All right, and now I am where it's my lining panel, which is the same size as my back panel. So, to save me some time, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna lay my pattern piece down and cut around it. I should say my lining piece, or my back panel. I'm gonna lay my back panel down and cut around it. This saves time for me. Maybe it really doesn't. But if you're cutting it close enough, it does save time. But it could risk like not straight seams, basically. So use this method at your own risk. I am using waterproof canvas. This is from FWD Fabrics. This color, I believe it's Khaki. This is like the lightest weight one that they offer. So I think it'll work well with these materials. This is a lot of pieces. All right, and now we're gonna need those side panels and side pockets. And the bottom panel. So again, I'm just gonna use these pieces. Give my ruler a little break. And especially with the side pockets, it'll be fairly easy because I don't even need to cut these super straight, because I'm gonna sew these right sides together and then trim away any excess. So what I like to do is just clip along the top, and this will save me time when I get to the sewing machine as well. Time to order more of this. That. So side panels. We are running out of lining fabric. That's okay. All right, there's my side panels, side pockets, base. a good area. I do have a matching water resistant canvas in Juniper green that I will probably use to cut out some of the lining pieces if I don't have enough of this. So I'm just kind of clipping pieces together, moving them out of the way. All right, that was the base. Yeah, so I still have the bottle sleeve, the laptop sleeve, the interior slip pocket, and the interior pocket lining. So I will probably do the slip pocket, bottle sleeve, and laptop sleeve out of the water resistant canvas since I'm out of waterproof canvas, and those are probably better off lighter weight anyway. So as I'm cutting this out, I'm like, okay, what would be the one perfect ruler for all of this? And sadly, there isn't an answer. Okay. So these get paired with that overlay. So I'll go ahead and clip those together for now. Again, just lay that in the stack. 2 of those. Yeah, none of these other pieces can I get out of this. But I can hold on to this to cut out little accessories and stuff like that. So I'll put this on my shelf. Okay, and then with the water resistant canvas, we like to do what's called the scratch test. So whatever side shows up little white markings, this is the wrong side of the fabric. So keep that in mind. And we sell these in 1-yard chunks. I honestly prefer that, especially if you're new to bag making, because it's smaller quantity to have to deal with within a place. Like this is, I think, probably a 1.5 yard piece. I just get the little scraps from what we sell, so keep that in mind. It's nice and manageable. Just gonna dig in. It's a nice straight edge. Okay, so this is the interior slip, inner slip. And this gets paired with this accent strip of vinyl. So I'm just gonna clip that together. Doesn't look incredible with each other, but it's not bad. Coordinates enough. And this is definitely a pattern that you just want to focus one little step at a time when you get to sewing. You don't want to try and do everything and get analysis paralysis, because it's real. Okay, this is the bottle sleeve. And I'm kind of glad I'm doing some of this in different colors, because that's just going to make it easier to differentiate when I get to the sewing machine. All right, and for this piece, I need 2 that are the same size. So definitely glad this isn't waterproof canvas, because that would be super thick. For this one, I'm going to put right sides together, either clipping in place or using pattern weights. And I'm just going to trace this out. Just a rough cut. And then if you want a nice clean edge from this selvage, we can do that too. And then this gets paired with the foam piece. And that is everything we need to cut out for this backpack. Whew. Whew. Give yourself a pat on the back. Give yourself a pat on the back, because that wasn't easy. That was a lot. Definitely give yourself a minute to clean up before you get started sewing. Again, I really think it helps with creativity to just kind of clean up as you go. This was not me several years ago, but the small amount of time I get to create is still work for me, but it's also my fun escape. So I want to make sure that I'm in a calm place.